But basically, the global banking system is now becoming more centralised than it's ever been, more closely linked to government. If you want an example of how this can be abused, think about Canada. These guys working as truckers,
yeah.
right? Law-abiding people. Suddenly, the law changes, a vaccine mandate comes in. They don't want to do it. They peacefully protest in Ottawa, and guess what happens? Prime Minister Trudeau works with the banks and shuts their accounts.
Where's this wokeism come from?
Oh, America, the west coast of America. So this is really interesting. So where is this at its worst? America, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. What do they have in common? Predominantly the English language. It's the effect of what we've seen from Facebook and others being pushed from the west coast. If you go to France and Germany, there's no woke. There's no woke in Italy.
No.
There's none.
Right.
It doesn't exist at all. It's a very much a thing that we've caught from America, and we get. I mean, to be honest, we get lots of good and bad from America. But this is the west coast have sent us this, and we're living with this.
And do you think this is because it's been relatively easy, hasn't it, society, for quite a few decades now? We've not been fighting wars.
Yep.
Because I try and think about this. Are people not busy enough doing important things? Because if we were all fighting in World War III, then we wouldn't be worrying about what.
Yeah, I know.
What letter we add on to LGBTQ.
I mean, what it is, it's a hard left agenda, driven mostly by Marxism, which wants to abolish borders, abolish national identity. It doesn't really believe in national democracy as a concept, believes that we should sort things out at a bigger global level. And it's been able to force its way because natural conservatives have just been cowardly. You know, if you don't approve of this measure, it means you want to destroy. It means you want to destroy the planet, and your children and your grandchildren, will all die because we're going to raise by 5 degrees. And throughout all of this, people have retreated. And the winners, in many ways, the winners of all of this, have actually been the big businesses, have actually been the big banks, because the environment they create is so anti-competitive for the SMEs, the small and medium-sized businesses, to actually be able to maintain a strong position. And I want to argue very strongly that we need to return to capitalism. Now the word alarm bells go, but we're not living in capitalism.
No,
we're living in corporatism. We're living in an age, and collectivism too, but an age where big government, big business, big banks work hand in glove. By the way, I first said that 15 years ago in the Strasbourg Parliament. 15 years ago, I could see the way this was going. And I think the world is a better, happier, richer place, more innovative, if men and women have got the ability to found their own businesses and go out and succeed. That's where you get competition in price, competition in quality, innovation and ideas. And I think we've turned our back on all of this. But
why?
Because I say this leftist agenda has been pushed, and everyone, no one dares stand in the way, because you get called nasty names, and the Twitter mob attack you, and all of those things. But you know something? Pendulums all through history.
Overcorrect, overswing.
Yeah. I mean, 1658 in this country, you could be imprisoned for overtly celebrating Christmas. You know, Cromwell's men broke into the home, and you had decorations up over the fireplace. That was it. You'd be dragged off to the neck.
Yeah.
And by 1680. We'd sunk into Hogarth's Gin Lane, total drunken debauchery in London. Yeah. So the pendulum was going in the 17th century all over the place. And I think there will be a massive turnaround in what happens in the corporate world for this simple reason. You can read all this guff, that ESG investing and not investing in fossil fuels, and you can read all this stuff. You can read about diversity, that you promote people within a team on the basis of not their ability, but where they come from and what group they're in. That somehow this is going to make us richer and more successful. Do you know what? I think, if I look at the banks and the kinds of people now being promoted, I think the next banking crisis can't be far away. If you're over-promoting people without the ability. So in the end, I think it'll be the pension funds, I think it'll be the big investors that say to companies, you know what? Forget about all this political stuff. Just do your job. Just do your job. We're your shareholders. We've invested money in you. We expect to see a profit and a dividend. That's kind of how the world has always worked. And that is, and by the way, I mean, do you remember just 3 or 4 years ago, modern monetary theory? Do you remember that? Modern monetary theory. We can borrow as much as we want as a government or a company or a person because interest rates are zero. Modern monetary theory. Money grows on trees. Anybody talking about that, about modern monetary theory now? Nobody. This is very much the same. The pendulum will come back on all of this, and I really hope. I mean, all I've done is to say something in public that a lot of people in private knew was happening and didn't know quite how to fight back. So, but I do feel, Rob, that I've sparked a genuine debate here, and I want to emphasise something as well. This is not political. This is not left-wing, right-wing. This is actually about the freedom of the individual in society to be able to live their life free of hassle, to set up their own businesses, to make their own way in the world. And I think all of that is being seriously attacked by what the banks are doing and by this culture that is running through so much of our private sector.
And do you think, therefore, the banks control the world?
I think they're enormously powerful. Enormously powerful. You think of other industries, media, etc., where there's been a great fracturing of power.
The decentralisation of media. We're having like the centralisation of banking, aren't we?
Yeah, just look at UBS, Credit Suisse in the course of the last year.
Yeah.
The banks, and there are a lot of fintech companies out there, and some very innovative fintech companies out there. I mean, London's full of fintech companies, and they're very efficient for paying and receiving foreign exchange, and you can actually buy, receive money and pay money out. You can't earn interest, you can't get a mortgage. They're not full banks.
Yeah.
So there are specialised sectors that fintech has fitted into. But basically, the global banking system is now becoming more centralised than it's ever been, more closely linked to government. And if you want an example of how this can be abused, think about Canada a couple of years ago. These guys working as truckers, right? Law-abiding people, suddenly the law changes, a vaccine mandate comes in, they don't want to do it. They peacefully protest in Ottawa, and guess what happens? Prime Minister Trudeau works with the banks and shuts their accounts.
Yeah.
You see the dangers of this?
Yes.
They're real.
I do.
They're real.
Yeah.
They're real. So it's a huge battle. This is a huge battle. And as I say, I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic we can get this pendulum to swing back in a more common sense direction.
How?
Well, I think the first thing is the FCA must do their job. I mean, this is a regulator that is there to look after Britain's biggest industry, which has actually spent far too much of its time pushing political ideology. So, telling banks and firms, stockbrokers, we're going to judge you on your ESG credentials. Ditch all of that. Get back to making people's savings are safe. And they can actually operate freely in the financial world. I think that needs to happen. And I tell you, when it comes to politically exposed persons, well, for once, politicians actually have a self-interest in making this right.
Well, they messed with the wrong guy, didn't they?
I tell you, it was funny, actually. It was funny, in the 40-page dossier, they say the downside risk is that Farage goes public and causes a stir, but we think he'll probably be too embarrassed to do that. And this is what, you see, admitting in public your bank accounts have been closed is actually quite a shaming, humiliating thing to do. And that's why after I did it, a lot of other high-profile figures came out about what had happened to them, what had happened to their families. There's a Tory MP from Portsmouth, Southampton. His account's been frozen for a year. He doesn't know why. I said, why didn't you speak out? He said, well,
Andrew Tate told me he had 15 million frozen, and he said what he had to go through to get that money back wasn't worth going through to get that money back.
Yeah. The best thing Jeremy Hunt has said is that in his view it's illegal to close people's accounts on the basis of their opinions. Now there are, Tate face criminal charges, so that's a slightly different situation. But certainly on the basis of people's opinions, the vicar didn't agree with the Yorkshire Building Society that the whole of the front door should be a rainbow flag celebrating Pride Month. The vicar popped in to say, can't you just be a building society? Account closed.
Shit!
No, this has been happening.
Yeah.
It's sinister and it's dangerous. And, I've received more support from across the spectrum on this than ever before. There are some, loony crackers people, haters, that won't agree. But actually, But number of emails that start, Mr. Farage, I don't normally agree with you, but. So I
That must feel good.
Well, after, having lived a 50-50 life, there's a spinning image
Yes.
play on in London, and I haven't been, but mate went on Friday, so as soon as you appear, 50% go, yeah, 50% go back. So I've been a very 50-50 person. People either really like me or don't.
Yeah.
But no, this has actually, brought people together because they can see the importance of this.
Hey, quick, before you go, if you want to watch the full, raw, uncut version of this episode in detail, no holds barred, you can watch it here. But before you go, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on.